In this video, we'll be taking a look at Boba Fett for the Black Series 6-inch line. This is the Return of the Jedi version, and I'm pretty sure this was considered the very first deluxe, I use deluxe very loosely, action figure that Hasbro released. Although I would say, as far as deluxe action figures go, this one's probably a little bit more justified compared to some of the other ones that Hasbro has released since then. So he was initially released in 2021, and this was the very first major upgrade of a Boba Fett that we ended up getting in the Black Series line. I did review the original from the Empire Strikes Back line, this one here, a few months ago. But it's about time to get the Return of the Jedi version on the channel. So I really like this action figure. It's perfect in every way. The only thing that I wish was different is, for whatever reason, Hasbro did not do a good job taking care of the helmet sculpt when it went into the package there. And because of that, often many people had samples where the helmets were squished in. In fact, I think all the first samples that were released had that. And unfortunately, mine has that as well. And then on top of that, the rangefinder, as you can see, it's a little beat up. It's definitely not as straight as it should be. Other than those two things, it's a perfect action figure all around. He has had a few re-releases since then. He was part of the Return of the Jedi anniversary wave, and they did fortunately fix the helmet sculpt, as far as I can tell, from all the samples I have seen in retail. Unfortunately, none of them have sold through because, one, they're I think they were $33.99 for that Boba Fett. And they may have been missing some of the accessories as well. I would have to go back and check. This action figure seems to be peg warming for quite some time now. So I know he was originally released in 2021, but I actually did not get this until several months later. I actually got this at my local Walmart. They had a whole case of them on the pegs there, and I thought, this is an action figure where I probably wouldn't have gone out of my way to get it online, but because it was right there and I only had to pay normal retail price for it instead of a markup on eBay, I thought I'll go ahead and get it, and I'm glad I did. So we'll go ahead and take a closer look at this guy. As you can see, you can get him in a pretty good crouching position. His feet are a little difficult to articulate there. And we'll take this off for now. So you can tell with the helmet sculpt, they added a lot of weathering and scrape marks and dents and everything else. It's very nice. I did manage to fix the squishing in a little bit. What you do is you basically just pry it open on the sides here. You just take something that's soft and work with it over time. It's not something you're probably going to get on the first try, and you have to just keep loosening that helmet a little bit. And I think the part of the reason why these action figures had a little bit of that helmet squish to them is because instead of just being a hollowed out helmet underneath, they did an actual head sculpt. So perhaps that had something to do with it. And it is an unpainted Tamora Morrison head sculpt. Obviously the helmet's glued down, but some people do take it off and see what it is underneath. And it's a pretty good head sculpt. I suppose if Hasbro was going to go for a removable helmet, this would be an ideal candidate to do that. I'm kind of surprised they didn't, because we know back in the 30th anniversary days it was pretty common for them to do Boba Fett's with removable helmets. I know some people don't like it, but at least in the Black Series it'd be nice to have one. He does have the dent in the left side of his head there. And from the sides, it's a very nice looking helmet. As far as I can tell, that's pretty much screen accurate. And the rangefinder is movable. Even with it bent a little bit, you can still get it where it's over his eye. As for the rest of his armor, you can tell they put a lot of nice detailing in it. Does have his symbol there. And the sculpting work is really nice as well. Does have the Mandalorian symbol there. Empty on that side. Does have the gauntlets, which, as you can see at the beginning of the video, you can add things to it. Jetpack is nicely painted. Did a very nice job with that. Does have the Wookiee braid over his right shoulder there. Gauntlet on this side. Can't add any attachments or anything to this gauntlet. That's alright. It does have the tubes right there. Then we have his belt, which is one of the main differences with a Return of the Jedi Boba Fett. Empire Strikes Back, it has all the various pouches, as you can see. This one is just, it does have some pouches, but they're all in the back instead, which helps with the hip articulation tremendously. But you can see some of the noticeable differences there. And in the gauntlets, these are all green while these ones are red. And then, of course, the jetpack is a different color. And for his legs, it has the pouches here, the knee armor. Then he has that blade at the end of his boots. I assume they're boots. But too bad they didn't do like in the Saga line back in 2003 where they had the jet propulsion effect that acted as a stand as well. And then you could do that with this Boba Fett. You can certainly get them in the poses to accommodate for that. So in terms of articulation, he's definitely loaded. So he has a ball joint to head, solid range of motion. You can get him in just about any pose possible. Hinged shoulders. He does have a... trying to think, does he have a swivel at the bicep there? Yeah, he does. Might have to hold on to it though when articulating that because the elbow wants to go along with it. And of course the elbow articulation, which goes past 90. That's nice. The hinged wrist, this one goes in and out. This one goes up and down. The joint at the torso. I'm trying to think, does he have a... No, I don't think he has a swivel gauntlet. But yep, joint at the torso, then hinged hips, swivel thigh, then hinged knees. There's no pins in the knees this time. And then the rocker ankles. So very nice articulation for a Boba Fett. So in terms of weapons and accessories, this is probably the main attraction for him. Go ahead and lay them all out. Plastic is soft enough compared to the Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett, where taking his blaster cannon out of his hand is pretty easy. So of course he has a signature blaster, which is painted more of a rusty color compared to his Empire Strikes Back version. And they are a little bit different. As you can see, the scopes are placed slightly different in the position of the gun. There is probably a little bit more paint detailing on this one. Well, this one's just a solid rust color, but it does have all the usual markings. Then, as you recall in Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker does cut off Boba's blaster in half there, and Hasbro actually included that here. So you can put it together, then you could take it apart, and it does have the lightsaber cut effect around the edges. It's very nice. So you could reenact that scene. It does have the flame effect for his gauntlet, as you could see at the beginning of the video. It's very nice for them to include that. And it does fit on securely. And on top of the piece for his gauntlet, he does have a was this a dart of some sorts, or the grappling hook actually, yeah. And I think this one pretty much goes on his left wrist there. I suppose you could fit it on his right, but the gauntlet here is a little more restrictive. But you can't really do a lot with it. I suppose if you were putting it on the edge of something, you can make it look like a scene, but otherwise it doesn't really serve a lot of purpose. Then he does come with the 2 jet effects for his jetpack. Nice for them to include that. And the thrusters are rotating. In fact, we'll just take this off. Oh yeah, one more thing I'll mention is he does have his cape here. More subtle. And these are pretty easy to fit on. I know with the 3 3/4 inch action figures that have this, oftentimes I've had difficulty putting these on, but for the Black Series one here, not so bad. But one more thing he does have is a removable missile for his jetpack. Nice for them to include that. Unfortunately, they didn't do a flame effect at the end, like the Vintage Collection Jango Fett, the first release. But it's nice they included that regardless. Then the jetpack fits securely on his back. And as I say that, that's when it falls off. But yeah, overall, it's a very fun action figure to pose. He has pretty much all the essential accessories that he would need. It is definitely the definitive Boba Fett. It's a shame that it can't be quite 100% solely because of the helmet. But as I said, you can work with that a little bit, so it's not the end of the world. And extra detailing on his pants there. And he's a great action figure to look at. There's definitely a lot of hidden details on this that oftentimes get overlooked. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can tell you about this deluxe Black Series Boba Fett. Pretty much the start of the deluxe line for Black Series, or Hasbro Star Wars in general. So would I recommend it for your collection? I totally would, even with the marked up price. I think when he was originally released, it was $29.99, and then with the Return of the Jedi version, I think or the anniversary edition, I think he may have been $33.99. But even at those prices, I think this Boba Fett's totally worth it. If you want the definitive Black Series Boba Fett, this is the one to get. The Empire Strikes Back one is very nice as well. It's a great action figure. But this one has the loaded accessories. It's the definitive version of him from Return of the Jedi. And I have nothing but great things to say about it other than the helmet here. But as I said multiple times, you can fix that along the way over time, which I think I have for the most part. So if you don't have this Boba for your collection, definitely recommend you look into getting one. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There'll always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate all your support. And check out some links in the description if you haven't done so already. And as always, thanks for watching.